The employment cycle is what I'm going to be talking to you about today. This is an essential part of human resource management that is left to human resource managers. There's two essential questions that this presentation will focus on as a main aim, if you like. What makes a good employee? And secondly, what makes a job a good place to work? So there's two essential questions that I want you to keep in the back of your mind when you view this particular presentation. Also, there are a whole range of understandings that I want you to have. First of all, the steps involved in employing a new employee. That's the first section of the employment cycle. What makes a good employee from an employer's perspective? So not only from an employee's perspective, we also have to look at the employer's perspective. What makes a workplace a good place to work? What strategies are used to maintain and develop employees in the workplace? The impacts of employment relation laws on employees and employers. That's a very important part of being employed in terms of awards and other fair work laws that are currently in place. And also, in the worst case scenario of strikes, the impacts of industrial disputes on the workplace and the community. So there are a whole bunch of understandings that you need to have to take with you when you study this area. What I've done is to summarise section 8.6 of your text, Business Studies in Action, and you'll notice there's quite a few diagrams and references to certain concepts and so forth that are taken straight from the text to make it easier for you. In addition, there'll be exercises I'm going to ask you to do along the way which will form part of your note taking, if you like. Okay. Human resource management. Essentially, it's a formal relationship between the employer and employees. Some people think that this relationship only exists for the employee to get money, to have a good lifestyle, but there's a lot more to it than that we will find out as we go along. Now, when we look at it from the employer's perspective, employers are the most valuable resource, certainly the most expensive cost of any expense in a firm, so we need to look after this valuable resource. We have to take care to hire the right people and the best people, and we need to get it right straight away, otherwise our business will suffer. We need to develop effective working relationships, so this is from an employer's perspective. So the better the relationship is, the more motivated and enthused our employees are going to be, and therefore they're going to satisfy our customers, and we're going to make more money and so forth. We have to motivate our staff to do their best in the workplace. It's not an easy task, and it's always a two-way street. For that to occur, we, the human resource managers, must provide opportunities for development. It's not only about money, it's also for development in terms of their personal skills and their professional skills. These are the main reasons for maintaining a good relationship with your employees. Let's just now have a look at the employment cycle itself that we will be going through step by step. So you can see up here the acquisition stage, so we need to identify, recruit and then select. Once we have employed them, they need to be trained and developed. And more emphasis is put on this part, maintenance. Okay, it not only means paying them lots of money, but also there's lots of other monetary benefits that staff enjoy and makes them stay at a particular job. And then unfortunately this occurs sometimes voluntarily for retirement, for example, but there's also instances of involuntary separation, as we call it, which is not nice, but is a fact of life, especially when the economy goes down. You can see this table on page 252, and on page 253 you've got this good summary of all the elements of human resource staffing process and the related activities. Now, I'm not going to read through all those, but I'll ask you to pause and look at those because that is what we're going to go through in detail in this flip lesson. This table on page 253 will become an excellent revision tool for you later on when you have to study for the exam and indeed the test. Please take stock, go to page 254, the revision questions there. I'd like you to do questions 1, 2 and 6 before you go on. Now let's go to the first part of our employment cycle, the acquisition of staff. The first thing we need to do is identify staff needs, which is an essential part of human resource planning. Human resource planning is an essential part of this process. If the businesses fail to plan correctly, we might get the wrong person. If we rush our job advertisements, then we're going to employ somebody who's not totally suited to what we require in our business, and productivity falls, customer satisfaction falls, and so on. So we need to get this stage right. So we need to identify the skills that we want the person to have in the particular position that we have got open for us. In addition, we'd also be trying to work out what our future demands would be. So this is where economics comes into the fold in terms of working out the market that you're selling into, and perhaps seeing what some trends are telling us. In the current case in Tasmania, the economy is going down, retail's down, tourism's down, the Australian dollar's high, which would mean that a lot of industries in Tasmania are suffering. Therefore, we've got the future demand trending down rather than up. So that would mean we need to not worry about new people, we'd worry about separating. So this is also in terms of the future needs of the business itself. So we may be expanding, we may be changing into another market, whatever. We may have a different focus on sorts of skills that we want. That needs to be put into our planning so we can satisfy those future needs. What we need to do in the first, once we've established those first parts, is to do a job analysis. As you can see, I've used a application form, if you like, that's been an ad that's been put into the newspaper. That's on page 255 of your text. So this is for a graphic design and artist. John Wiley happens to be the publisher of this book. The important thing here is that we need to work out what a job description is and a job specifications. In relation to the job description, we need to work out what the employer's duties will be. What do we want them to do, and what are they responsible for? What tasks do they have to do on a daily basis, weekly basis, monthly basis, yearly basis? And are they responsible for various sections, are responsible for people, responsible for resources and processes in our business? And what sort of work environment will they be working in? It's outside, inside, is OH&S an issue, and so forth. Secondly, if you see here, we look at the job specification. Okay, what specific skills are required? So what qualifications do they need? Do they need up to grade 10? Do they need a university degree? Do you need to have an apprenticeship or be prepared to do an apprenticeship? What sort of education have you got? And this is obviously very important. That's what you guys are good at and gaining at a rapid rate. So education could obviously go as far as university level. What sort of skills have you got? And this is really important. What skills? It's what we call employability skills, which can include things like communication, teamwork, innovation, creativity, and problem-solving skills. How good are you? How good are you at those sort of things? It's really those generic employability skills that you can take from job to job. What sort of experience have you had? From a perspective of where you guys are at, I mean, even experience being a prefect, being a team member of a sports team, doing some community service, they're all important things that you can bring to a job application. It doesn't only have to be job experience, but as obviously you go on in your uh, job career, in your career path, then your previous experience in a job will be very important. Now that we've worked out what exactly we want the person to do and what experience and qualifications they need, we can now turn to the second part, recruitment. One of the first decisions HRM managers need to make is to work out whether you want to go external or internal. So external is external to the business, and that's commonly used, but quite often also we can go internal and see who is in our organisation currently who would fit the bill, and we can ask them to apply in the first instance. Let's have a look at external recruitment. In the first instance, this is the most common one, we advertise in the press. But that tends to be fairly expensive. An average advertisement in the local Examiner will still cost you, for a little ad, about $250, and if you want to go to a bigger one, obviously it goes up from that. Online is an increasing important way of recruiting. Obviously cheaper, and you've got a bigger breadth, but you need to be more targeted in the way that you use this medium. But that's becoming a more important way of recruitment. You can go to agencies, professional agencies that do a lot of this work for you rather than you having to do the work yourself, and that may be something that a smaller organisation who can't afford a human resource manager for them to do. You can go directly to schools, or a common way that I know that people have been recruited is from TAFE. So they're in the industry already, and the people in that industry go to the TAFE and say, look, have you got anybody who's suitable? But even in my role as a teacher, I've been asked the same question: have you got somebody who's suitable for an accounting or an economics type job? And as I mentioned before, we can have an internal search. Quite often what happens here at Grammar is that if a position becomes available, then an email goes out, and for any suitable candidates to put their hand up, and this obviously will save lots of money by not advertising or going to agencies, which obviously cost money. This method is a good way of rewarding loyal employees, and provides a progression, a career path within the organisation, and that keeps the loyalty amongst staff and motivation amongst staff as well. Now we go to the selection process. So we've advertised, people have put in their resumes and a letter to go with it, and then we've got to go through the laborious process of selecting a suitable candidate, or indeed in the first instance you want to select a group of people that you want to interview. The selection process is really about matching applicants to the job specifications. So in the first instance, we look at the resume, and you guys would have produced one of those, and it's a very important document, and it's a living document, right? Every year, if you're still wanting to go up along your career path, you should update your resume. Part of the selection process might involve testing. Now I know that even at the lower levels for, again if I talk about the TAFE sector, even to get in the course I want you to have basic literacy skills. The selection process always involves an interview, almost always involves an interview. And as I said earlier, for that to occur, you might get 100 letters and so forth, so you have to employ some processes and some criteria to see which people you're going to interview. And lastly, you might also do background checks. You might also know this, that employers are increasingly looking at your Facebook profile to see what sort of person you are, and what sort of language you use, and that sort of stuff. And that's a common way of getting an extra bit of background about the person that has applied for position in your firm. Again, it's time to stop. Check your understanding. Page 260 in your text. You review questions 1, 3, 7 and 8, please.